Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another exciting day. And of course, that brings us up another brand new portal. This time around, the Magic Tower has returned. And with it comes a costume for one of the favorite Magic Tower heroes. Maybe she didn't get quite as much attention as some of the other ones, but I promise you, Becky is definitely an interesting character. So we will take a look at her costume. And then we also have this 5-star little guy on a carpet here, Bart. So let's go ahead and start out with Bart. I'll probably do a second video for our Becky costume. I usually do separate videos for everything. So let's go ahead and get things started here. Oh, also, just a reminder, I never remember to mention this, but at the bottom right of every single one of my videos, there will be a little subscribe button. If you like what I do, then that's easy to just click that. That way you can see the content as soon as it comes up. All right, but back to what we were doing here. We have ourselves a brand new wizard class character. A very interesting little guy here. The Magic Carpet family, if you've forgotten what they do, they get this pretty cool full flight momentum, which is going to give them, well, it will describe it more here, I believe. Nope, that's weaker minions. Full flight momentum. Okay, so they will receive 35% increased mana generation and 25% dodge. Now, they start the fight with these automatically, so just keep that in mind. It's a very cool way to go, and the effects will diminish each time the character is hit, but you also have to take into consideration that they get this full flight momentum back when they cast their special. So it's kind of this weird system where they start out buffed, and then the longer it takes them to cast their special, the more they lose, but then it comes back again, and it's just, anyway, the full flight momentum is great. Now, what's interesting about this guy, and I see this right here, is that it does look like he's operating at very fast. So the full flight momentum, on top of already being very fast, is not something that we've seen yet from a Magic Carpet hero. So is this going to allow them to match tiles even quicker? Like, can we get this down to like a 3 match going into people, or maybe not? I don't think we can get quite that fast, but what I do think is normally it would take like maybe 6 tiles. It might drop it down to 5. So like if you can create a diamond immediately, you probably already have this special up, that kind of thing. So that's where this speed increase, the full flight momentum, will make a difference right at the beginning of battles. Also, for Aether skill, we have our special boost. Special boost is going to increase the damage of your special skills by 30% for the first 6 turns. Now, down here we have Zooming Lunge, and it is operating at the very fast speed we discussed a moment ago. It will be dealing 360% damage to the target and minor damage to nearby enemies. All buffs affecting attack, defense, and mana generation on the target and nearby enemies are transformed into matching uncleansable ailments. The target and nearby enemies get negative 45% accuracy for 2 turns. That's not very nice. Where'd my picture go? All right, let's bring it back. There we go. Okay, so let's break down what that means for this guy. That means that we have a very fast hit 3 move, right? But it's only going to do the maximum damage to the target, minor damage to nearby. That's 365 to the target is a pretty reasonable hit for very fast. So maybe thinking of him as like a sniper that does a little bit of additional damage might be the way to go, because I don't expect that the nearby enemies are going to take a significant amount of damage from this guy, but it is nice to get the little bit of extra out. Then also, what's more important than the damage he's doing is the fact that he's going to be flipping these buffs to undispellable debuffs for all 3 of the targets hit. Now, that makes a big difference when we're dealing with some of these buffs like mana generation or defense up, right? You can turn them from being tanky walls that are manning up into defense down characters with mana debuffs. That's a big swing in the overall board state, so don't underestimate that particular part of his ability. Even though it doesn't sound super powerful in theory, it is actually a very strong effect. Then we also have the target nearby enemies get negative 45% accuracy for 2 turns. Okay, so the negative 45% accuracy, I usually prefer this over the dodge. There are too many characters out there that sort of gain benefit from dodging. Like, for example, Sludges is a perfect example. Anyone who dodges while Sludges is up is going to end up taking 1,700 damage, right? So, like, there's negative effects to that. But if you put accuracy down, right, instead, then it's a different type of way to reduce the amount of damage that doesn't seem to have as many side effects involved with it. There's no real like negative things to saying if a character misses, they take this much damage. So with that in mind, I think of the 2, the negative accuracy down is probably a little bit more fun, in my personal opinion, but it all just depends on how you're using him. And if you have characters that do benefit from dodges and so on and so forth, then obviously this guy's annoying because he won't synergize well. All right, so there's not a lot to discuss about this guy, because in reality, I think his abilities are pretty straightforward. There's no tricks to the trade, but one thing I didn't mention, is he does have the weaker Mega Minions passive, like all the other Magic Carpet heroes. So that's obviously very, very strong. That passive alone makes these characters worth collecting and leveling. Like, I go through wars every single week, and I don't have any Magic Carpet heroes, but I do have 2 of the costumes for the Magic heroes that have the same effect, and I use them every single war. Because honestly, like, why would you not weaken Mega Minions if you can? And they have started cycling their way out of the meta, but there's always at least 1 or 2 teams out there still stacking their Mega Minions, and they are just asking to be picked on by these characters. So keep that in mind. Now, on the scale of 1 to 10, where are we rating this guy? I'm going to put him at an 8, because the Magic Carpet heroes are just way too good to ever be a 7. Their passives alone make them insane. But the reason I'm putting this guy at an 8 is not because he isn't a good character. 8 is a good character. It's just he doesn't necessarily define the board state. Like, his special going off is not going to change the entire fight structure or anything like that. He will be useful to you. He's going to do good things. He will be a benefit. But you just can't expect this guy by himself to be a game changer. So with that in mind, he's going to be an 8 and super fun to collect. So if you get him, congratulations. All right, let's move on to our next video of the day.